it's always been an opportunity that I've cherished. It's a chance to step back for a moment, for us to come together as brothers and sisters and seek God's face together. At a time when it's easy to lose ourselves in the rush and clamor of our own lives, these moments of prayer slow us down. They humble us. They remind us that no matter how much responsibility we have, how fancy our titles, how much power we think we hold, we are imperfect vessels. We can all benefit from turning to our Creator, listening to Him, and listening to Him. In my moments of prayer, I'm reminded that faith and values play an enormous role in motivating us to solve some of our most urgent problems, in keeping us going when we suffer setbacks, and opening our minds and our hearts to the needs of others. We can't leave our values at the door. If we leave our values at the door, we abandon much of the moral glue that has held our nation together for centuries and allowed us to become somewhat more perfect a union. The majority of great reformers in American history did their work not just because it was sound policy or they had done good analysis or understood how to exercise good politics, but because their faith and their values dictated it and called for bold action, sometimes in the face of indifference, sometimes in the face of resistance. And this is no different today for millions of Americans, and it's certainly not for me. I wake up each morning and I say a brief prayer, and I spend a little time in Scripture and devotion. And from time to time, friends of mine, some who are here today, friends like Joel Hunter or T.D. Jakes, will come by the Oval Office, or they'll call on the phone, or they'll send me an email, and we'll pray together, and they'll pray for me and my family and for our country. But I don't stop there. I'd be remiss if I stopped there. If my values were limited to personal moments of prayer or private conversations with pastors or friends. So instead, I must try, imperfectly, but I must try to make sure those values motivate me as one leader of this great nation. I believe in God's command to love thy neighbor as thyself. I know that a version of that golden rule is found in every major religion, in every set of beliefs. For me as a Christian, it also coincides with Jesus' teaching that for unto whom much is given, much shall be required. I am my brother's keeper and I am my sister's keeper. That as a country we rise and fall together. I'm not an island. I'm not alone in my success. I succeed because others succeed with me. It's also about the biblical call to care for the least of these, for the poor, for those at the margins of our society. To answer the responsibility we're given in Proverbs to speak up for those who cannot speak for themselves, for the rights of all who are destitute. Treating others as you want to be treated, requiring much from those who've been given so much, living by the principle that we are our brother's keeper, caring for the poor and those in need. These values are old. They can be found in many denominations and many faiths, among many believers and among many non-believers. And they're values that have always made this country great when we live up to them, when we don't just give lip service to them, when we don't just talk about them one day a year. And they're the ones that have defined my own faith journey. I think we all understand that these values cannot truly find voice in our politics and our policies unless they find a place in our hearts. The Bible teaches us to be doers of the word and not merely hearers. We're required to have a living, breathing, active faith in our own lives. And each of us is called on to give something of ourselves for the betterment of others and to live the truth of our faith, not just with words, but with deeds. So we must be reminded of the difference that we can make each day in our small interactions, in our personal lives, as a loving husband, or a supportive parent, or a good neighbor, or a helpful colleague. In each of these roles, we help bring His kingdom to earth. And as important as government policy may be in shaping our world, we are reminded that it's the cumulative acts of kindness and courage and charity and love. It's the respect we show each other and the generosity that we share with each other that in our everyday lives will somehow sustain us during these challenging times. John tells us that if anyone has material possessions and sees his brother in need but has no pity on him, how can the love of God be in him? Dear children, let us not love with words or tongue, but with actions and in truth.